It is a little windy up here, still a gorgeous afternoon for a 49ers update. They have re-signed Stone Blanton, the tackling machine out of Mississippi State. Also forced a bunch of fumbles in college, was with them during training camp. He is back on the 49ers practice squad. So is Braden Willis, who had been on the 53-man roster, but since George Kittle is back, Willis reverted to the practice squad. Stone Blanton joins him. The 49ers released Messiah Swinson, the practice squad tight end who had been filling in while George Kittle was on injured reserve. No tryouts for the 49ers today. Maybe a trade coming up at some point soon, a couple weeks before the trade deadline. Well, it's really, really windy in here, probably because the fog is rolling in off the Golden Gate. So we're going to head inside to finish this video. Just a quick look over in this direction. You can see Alcatraz right there behind me. And you can't really see the Golden Gate Bridge because the fog is blowing in. So beautiful day, time to move to the studio. All right, here we are. We have indeed made it to the studio so we could talk about the Stone Blanton signing and a whole lot more. I wanted to make this the first preview for the 49ers and the Houston Texans, who we saw last night. The offense looked absolutely atrocious against the good Seattle defense, but please never again try to put CJ Stroud in the same sentence as Brock Purdy. They are not the same. CJ Stroud got the benefit of 4 defensive takeaways, and he still managed to not even come within a possession of the Seattle Seahawks. Meanwhile, Brock Purdy went into Seattle and played the majority of the game with turf toe, without George Kittle, without Brandon Ayuk, behind an injured Trent Williams, with a defense that did not give him 4 takeaways, and he beat that same Seattle Seahawks team. So one of these quarterbacks is really good. The other one, CJ Stroud, really is not. The Texans offense is following suit, but the problem for the 49ers coming up this week is that, again, Purdy might not play, but the Houston defense is currently ranked as the best defense in the league. Take a look at this. This is the XY chart that we like to show to set the table for who the 49ers are playing on a week-by-week basis. X-axis is going to give you offense. Y-axis is going to give you defense. And the Texans are below average, moving left to right. That is representative of the offense. It's really struggled. But the defense is now at the very top of the league. They were impressive last night against Seattle. And that is a D'Amico Ryans defense that the 49ers will be facing. As you can see, the Texans are actually in the same tier diagonally as the 49ers. San Francisco right at the origin of this graph. This doesn't include special teams, which has been good for San Francisco ever since Eddie Pinheiro came aboard. But it does include offense and defense. 49ers have a better offense and a worse defense than Houston. So the key for San Francisco, and this is the key for any football game, play the game on your terms. Try to see if you can neutralize that Texans defense. How do you do that? Well, you do it through the tried and true running game. This is Houston's defense against both the run and the pass. So this is defense only, this XY graph. Better pass defenses are going to be further to the right. Look where Houston has best pass defense in the game so far this year, ahead of the Rams, ahead of the Vikings. The Vikings really, really like the blitz. D'Amico Ryans doesn't like the blitz nearly as much as the 49ers passed 2 opponents, Todd Bowles of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and then Jeff Ulbrich of the Atlanta Falcons. But he's got a good secondary, and he doesn't need a blitz as much when he has Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter coming in from the edge rusher positions. But where the Texans might be a little bit weak is against the run. You can see that they're a decidedly average team against the run. That's going to be on the Y-axis, moving up and down. So if they were in the upper right, it'd be an unbeatable defense. But the Texans gamble a lot of resources against the pass. They pin their ears back, and, that's where Will Anderson Jr. has really thrived with this team. You saw him yesterday with the strip sack touchdown. They're like the 49ers were in previous years. I think the 49ers are reading a little bit more up front. That has improved the run defense. But what the Texans will do is they will pin their ears back and get after the passer. That you saw it on the play where Darnold fumbled in the end zone. That it is a defense that is dead set on being as efficient as possible against aerial assaults. And they rank number 18 against the run. And it just so happens that this has come this matchup a week after the 49ers resurrected their run game with a ton of power. So, I mean, Houston might be a little bit better equipped to defend outside zone, especially with a secondary that is very spry and can come downhill and hit you. But are they equipped to beat what the 49ers started running a lot of against the Atlanta Falcons? And that is the inside gap scheme power game. The 49ers have a changeup now, and I'm going to get into this a lot more tomorrow morning. We're going to have a big video coming out on how the 49ers have evolved as far as the ground attack goes. And I think that's going to be really, really important in a game against Houston's number 1 ranked defense. We can get through every part of this matchup, but let's cover the roster moves first in spreadsheet form, since I know that that's what everybody likes to really visualize things. We can see exactly what the 49ers have done today. So Braden Willis, he was one of the tight ends on the 53-man roster, but now George Kittle is back from injured reserve. So the 49ers cut Willis and re-signed him to the practice squad. He is over here. The move that the 49ers made today means that Messiah Swinson is off the team. So Messiah Swinson, with Braden Willis now being the 49ers practice squad tight end, his services no longer needed. You can scroll down here. The 49ers signed Stone Blanton, who's a rookie. He's going to get the rookie shading in here. There he goes. That's the green shading for rookie. Stone Blanton is back on the team as a practice squad linebacker alongside Jalen Graham. So that's how the 49ers are currently constructed. They've got 5 linebackers on the 53. Bethune, Winters, Luke Gifford is the strong side linebacker, the 3rd linebacker for the 49ers. Curtis Robinson is the backup Mike linebacker. He saw 9 snaps against Atlanta the other day. Didn't have time to put on a green dot helmet with a radio inside of it. So what Curtis did instead was use hand signals and try to read Robert Saleh's lips. He did a good job. If anybody goes down beyond Curtis Robinson, so like if 2 linebackers are hurt, Nick Martin would see his first defensive action in his NFL career. I know a lot of people have been asking about Nick. Well, Nick was active for the first time on Sunday against the Falcons after the injury to Fred Warner. Tight end position, I think this is simple enough. Kittle, Tonjes, Farrell. Now, I'm going to put Jake Tonjes as tight end 3 now for the 49ers. And here's why. He only had 7 snaps the other day. It was Luke Farrell that saw the lion's share of the work for San Francisco. So we've got Farrell in there as tight end 2. Jake Tonjes had only 7 snaps for the 49ers, and obviously George Kittle working his way back into shape. Kittle, by the way, I've now watched the tape twice of this game, was absolutely fantastic for the 49ers. And I know we got a lot of fantasy football players who are going to be like, what? He didn't catch a single pass. It is not about the receiving game. It wasn't about the receiving game on Sunday. They decided to, again, run a lot of power gap scheme stuff, and front and center and a lot of the blocking action that the 49ers operated was George Kittle peeling inside to take out linebackers. I mean, Christian Ellis, one of the linebackers for the Falcons, he had enough of George Kittle by the time that this game was over. Ellis actually got the interception that bounced off of Juwan Jennings' hands in the first half. But Kittle was giving these guys the business up the middle. We've seen Kittle so many times on the combo blocks with Trent Williams, even Colton McKivitz on the other side, but with the offensive tackles for the 49ers, we've seen him skirt the perimeter so many times, and he's so athletic that he's effective at doing that. Rarely, though, have the 49ers run as much power as they did on Sunday against Atlanta. Gap scheme stuff, everybody taking A gap, B gap, C gap, all accounted for by these offensive linemen. Sometimes the tight end, though, very oftentimes the tight end is going to be assigned on power, a certain blocking assignment of a linebacker, and George Kittle, in the midst of a lot of traffic, did that. I do not care that he didn't catch a pass. That wasn't part of the 49ers game plan. He's still working back into shape. Just imagine where this 49ers offense will be once George Kittle is more efficiently deployed in the receiving game. He's going to see a few more snaps. He's going to see way more targets. And, you know, even now, well, I was talking to Mac Jones at his locker after the game, and he was saying that George was creating like 3 yards of space just by his presence. So even now he's starting to draw guys into certain directions. But once the football can actually start going to him, defenses are truly going to have to choose what part of the 49ers attack they want to stop. That is leverage for the 49ers. You know, the goal for San Francisco, let's go back to the team tier chart. There is a singular goal in the overarching sense for this 49ers offense. They're right here. They are trying to move to the right. They're trying to move. Do you see where the Chiefs are? Do you see where the Packers are? Do you see where the Colts are? The 49ers, by the end of this season, they'd like to be performing as an offense that is far to the right on this x-axis. And to get there, they're going to have to make opponents choose at the line of scrimmage. Are you going to defend run? Are you going to defend pass? Both phases of the 49ers offense need to be very, very threatening for that to happen. And so far this year, the 49ers had not put on a very threatening run game. Entering the game against Atlanta, they were at 3.1 yards per carry, but they were missing that leverage that George Kittle does bring to the table. Even without being a productive receiver on Sunday in his first game back, Kittle was a ferocious blocker that delivered a lot of leverage for both the 49ers run and the pass games. Once he starts delivering as a receiver, imagine how much larger that leverage will be. Right now, the 49ers currently don't have a receiver to blow the top off the opposing defense. Ricky Pearsall might be back this week against the Houston Texans. And I would say at that point, well, the 49ers will have a threat that can blow off the top of the opposing defense. That's also really big toward a run game. So this is an absolute showdown that's going to be coming up. You know, on one side, you look at the 49ers surging offensively with the run game back, 170 plus yards. Finally, the bedrock of this offense is there, and they're doing it in a different way. They're doing it with a mix of gap scheme and outside zone stuff. But you've got the Texans right up here. I'm circling them with the cursor. The Texans is the top defense in football. Now, we're waiting for moves, and the 49ers, I told you about the Swinson cut, and I told you about the Braden Willis re-signing to the practice squad, and obviously Stone Blanton coming in. Nothing on the edge rusher front as far as a tryout goes. And I think, you know, CJ Stroud was so bad last night, especially against pressure. I want to get some of the pressure splits up for CJ Stroud in this game against the Seahawks. They weren't yet up when I checked this morning, but they'll be up now. And I could virtually guarantee that they're not going to be fun to look at if you're a Houston Texans fan. All right, here we go. We got the final grades available. Now we're going to go to the pressure splits. All right, CJ Stroud last night, when he was kept clean, oh boy, this is ugly. This is even uglier than I thought it would be. When he was kept clean, he was 19 to 31, 184 yards, 5.9 yards per attempt. Pedestrian. I mean, nothing great, but nothing terrible. He was completing 61% of his passes, 5.9 per attempt. That's mediocre. It's not anything better or anything worse than that. But when he was under pressure, CJ Stroud was 4 of 18 for 45 yards and a pick. The touchdown, that one touchdown that he threw was actually, he came under pressure. He threw it to the running back. He was scrambling around. So credit to him for that. But a 22% completion percentage for CJ Stroud, 2.5 yards per attempt. Again, he was 4 of 18 when he was under pressure. An insanely bad PFF grade of 29.6 when he was under pressure. I mean, this is even worse than Michael Penix Jr. against the 49ers. He was 3 of 13 under pressure. Stroud was 4 of 18 with not nearly the same amount of yardage production as Penix. This was against the better Seattle defense. I get it, but those are some horrific splits. Pressure, not good for CJ Stroud. He also graded very poorly against the blitz, only 4.2 yards per attempt against the blitz. So it does seem that Seattle was able to confuse him. Anyway, the point is that the 49ers are down edge rushers. Bryce Huff is going to be hurt, not going to play this game. We're going to get an update on Yetur Gross-Matos tomorrow. We know that Nick Bosa is done for the season. We know that Seattle pressured the hell out of Stroud. Then we ask the 49ers in their injured state, can they affect Stroud enough to get some of this bad quarterback production out of him again this week? Because he hadn't been good this week, and he was terrible against pressure the other day. So let's look at the 49ers roster. Let's see who's available at the edge rusher position. Huff, no. Michael Williams, yes. Sam Okawanu, yes. Yetur Gross-Matos, probably not. Not confirmed that he won't be available. Travis Gibson, yes. William Bradley King, yes. Robert Beal Jr., yes. And obviously Nick Bosa that is a big, big no. The thing about Huff is, like, the 49ers were able to turn the leverage of that Atlanta game around and start really affecting Michael Penix Jr. with a 4-man pass rush, thanks to some of the leverage help that they got over the course of the game. They built a lead, and the 2-score lead was nice and they stopped the run. But once Atlanta had to abandon the run, the 49ers pinned their ears back in a really, really impressive way. Can they get to that point again coming up here in this next matchup against the Texans, even without Bryce Huff? I mean, that's the money question. Bryce manufactured the tilting point of the game against the Falcons with that strip sack working against the right tackle last week. That was all Huff. That was before the 49ers had leverage. It was before they could guarantee that the Falcons weren't going to be running the ball. Huff, one of his quickest get-offs he got from snap to the quarterback in 2.6 seconds. Impressive stuff. But now you don't have him, and you relied on him on Sunday. That was 45 snaps, the most that he's taken as a 49er. He had to deliver on the backside against some runs. I mean, Bryce Huff, he's been better than advertised because he's been better against the run than advertised. And the 49ers are really, really enjoying everything that he's bringing to the table, to the point where they gave him his biggest snap load of the season, and he hurt his hamstring. I don't know if those two are related, but it is worth noting that this was more than Bryce Huff had been accustomed to work. And early in the season, this was a 20 snap per game guy. Now he's at 45, but he's going to be at 0 on Sunday. How do the 49ers overcome that? You look at Huff, you look at Mykel Williams, and you say, okay, he's gotten some pressure on the quarterback, not a whole heck of a lot of it. He's more of a pocket pusher and a run stopper, and he's doing a hell of a job at that. But at some point, the 49ers, this is why I talk about trades. If you don't have Huff, if you don't have Bosa, if you don't have Matos, who do you have that can win clean in crunch time on the outside? Sam Okawanu did a good job with 5 pressures the other day. He's developing. Maybe he can dissuade the 49ers from paying too much for somebody, but he's still not an established commodity in this league. Travis Gibson is, but he's older. They just got promoted from the 49ers practice squad to the 53-man roster. Then there's William Bradley King and Robert Beal Jr. on that practice squad right now for the 49ers. So you've got Huff, Williams, Gross Matos, Gibson, Bradley King, and Robert Beal Jr. Those are your available edges. But, Mykel Williams is a rookie, and Bryce Huff and Yetur Gross Matos are not available. So you're looking at leaning into somebody like Sam Okawanu, whose first real career action really just came last season, whose first bigger game was this past week against the Atlanta Falcons. But he did deliver with those 5 pressures. Anyway, that's all going to line up against a Houston offense that is maybe going to be missing Nico Collins, the wide receiver, suffered a concussion in the game against the Seahawks last night. CJ Stroud, again, has not been good for a while of that game against the Seahawks. He was operating without his top 2 weapons, Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz. Schultz did end up re-entering the game. Stanford product, played with Christian McCaffrey there in college. He's somebody that's guaranteed to get a lot of targets, and by extension should be getting a lot of defensive attention from the 49ers. The Texans have big-time offensive line issues. They traded Laramie Tunsil away. They're starting a rookie in Arante Ursary at left tackle, the product out of Minnesota. I know we talked about him a lot in the pre-jet process. They're starting Laken Tomlinson at left guard. That is the former 49ers starting left guard. Jake Andrews is the center. Ed Ingram, formerly of the Vikings, is the right guard, and Tyrus Howard is the right tackle. They gave up a lot of pressure against Seattle yesterday. They've been giving up a lot of pressure, period. And a lot of people are using it as an excuse for CJ Stroud, predictably, because quarterbacks picked up high are constantly reinforced, I think, by popular opinion, by the media. But quarterbacks picked lower, like Brock Purdy, they're constantly denigrated. I call it draftism. But the truth of the matter is that Stroud has not been good, regardless of whether or not you're going to use that offensive line and its poor play as a shield to prevent you from properly evaluating his performance. Woody Marks is the starting running back. Nick Chubb is the backup for the Texans. Woody Marks is the one who caught the touchdown pass from CJ Stroud down the stretch run of that game. I've got to get some water. I was just swimming up in San Francisco Bay, and I realized I didn't fill up on water. I've got the glass right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the article up on the San Francisco Standard up on the screen, and I'm going to put the article into the description as well. And when we do that, you should go check it out. I'm going to send this to Mike for the description, but first I'm going to post it in the comment section. There you go. It's going to be up on the screen, and I'm going to go very, very quickly get some water. So just give me 1 second. All right, I am back. And the good news is I got a full Brita filter of water here, so I won't have to leave again. Door is closed, studio is fired back up, and camera is back on. Hopefully you had a chance to check out the article. I'm ready to answer some of your questions here as we preview the Houston Texans. Going to make this an interactive preview. Here's the entire Brita filter of water. And then here is the glass. Cheers. I guess the Greeks say it's bad luck to cheers water, but I think that water, I drink coffee black. Coffee, just no additives into the coffee. It's jet fuel on its own, but not this late in the day. And, in the case of trying to get some energy, if you're a little tired, if you're dragging, water will actually give you quite a bit. Sometimes you're just a little dehydrated. Oh, that's good. So you already have a little bit more energy. Christopher Blankenship asks, will Drake Nugent get a call-up for the 49ers? It's a good question. Let's look to see where they are roster-wise at center with Jake Brendel hurt. So here you go. Brendel's hurt. Matt Hennessy's up next. I think that Nick Zakelj, who got a call-up from the practice squad last week, is the likely backup center for the 49ers. He's only been called up once. You get 3 of the elevations. They're temporary. So the 49ers probably use another one on Nick Zakelj. Now, they didn't elevate him last week for center, although he ended that game as the backup center. I think they elevated him just in case Connor Colby or Dominic Pooney would need to be relieved for the game. I think that's what the 49ers were up to last week. Now, they didn't end up needing to relieve Pooney. Zakelj got in there for 4 snaps in place of Connor Colby. I don't know what the point of that was. If Colby was dinged up, they didn't report an injury after the game. Maybe he was a little bit winded. George Kittle did call out Connor Colby and how he's taking care of his body. I guess tough love for the fellow Iowa guy. But Zakelj was able to enter the game in Colby's place for 4 snaps. I think now, if you call Zakelj up again, he will be the backup center since Jake Brendel's not going to be active and Matt Hennessy is going to be the starting center for the 49ers. This is one of the biggest developments that we've seen, schematically the biggest one that we've seen of this season. And I'm going to go over this in a lot of depth tomorrow. So set your alarm clocks and put the alarm bell on and subscribe for the video. It's going to be coming up in the morning. But Hennessy's 315 pounds. Brendel is 299. It's a 16-pound difference. 49ers went to more power. Brendel's known for his agility, an awesome athletic score coming out of UCLA. But the 49ers got the mauler, Hennessy, in there, or at least somebody who's more capable of mauling. 15, 16 pounds is a significant difference in size. And given the changing approach, the changing schematics for the 49ers up front, I think that this worked out really, really well for San Francisco. Does Drew Moss have a chance to play? I not now, I don't think. I think that Moss, if there is true injury decimation, then maybe yes. But they just didn't want him to get poached by somebody else. He is a developmental prospect who is on the 53-man roster. I think that I said this at the end of training camp. Nick Zakelj is probably higher up on the pecking order for actual playing time than Drew Moss. And I think this was verified by the fact that Zakelj entered the game on Sunday, 4 snaps for Connor Colby, and Drew Moss did not. So Moss has a lot of potential. He's got a lot of fight. He's a shorter player, but he was awesome at Colorado State. He's really, really strong. He's a bowling ball. But Nick Zakelj is the lineman the 49ers perceive to have the higher floor right now. Why do they risk CMC with short yardage, not goal line runs when they have Robinson? Well, every time that Christian McCaffrey's out on the field, just like anytime any NFL player is out on the field, it's a risk. McCaffrey is better than Robinson, though. Like, McCaffrey has better vision, I think he has better burst, better body control. You can't take a hand short situation for granted. I mean, who was it yesterday? It was the Texans who kept on handing off absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. It was ridiculous at one point when they kept on getting stuffed. Anyway, you need to succeed in short yardage running situations. And a lot of that's going to be on the running back and how many leaky extra yards he can get. And we know that Christian McCaffrey is absolutely elite in this regard. It's time for some data. How about this? I was told this offseason that Christian McCaffrey had lost a step. Well, this doesn't seem like he's lost a step. Let me get this banner off the screen. This is in receiving, by the way. But completed air yards is on the x-axis. Yards after the catch on the y. McCaffrey is catching shorter passes, as is expected from somebody who's a running back and a slot weapon. More on slot weapon here in a little bit. But this is how many yards after the catch he has picked up. Guys with similar completed air yards are just down in this cluster. Shout out to Jackson Smith and the Jigba, who is way over here to the right. I mean, he's been awesome this year. Breakout year for him in Seattle. He's caught a lot of passes through the air. Sam Darnold, you got to give him credit for that as well. But look at where McCaffrey is at. I mean, it's just absurd at this point. You could zoom in much further. I mean, he is a complete outlier of outliers. Christian McCaffrey has a chance to go 1,000 again. I think he's probably on pace at this point to go 1,000 after he had a 140-plus yard rushing game. It is not the receiving that will be the statistical problem. It is the running. And if the run game is now going based on how the 49ers threw their changeup at the Atlanta Falcons, if that changeup has now worked, then Christian McCaffrey should be on running pace to do that. Knock on wood. He's obviously got to stay healthy, but this is a special, special player. We've got one more piece of Christian McCaffrey data for you. So I'm talking about his efficiency as a receiver. These are wideouts. These are all wideouts, and I see at least one tight end. I see Tyler Warren on there. I think if I scroll further down, I get Trey McBride. So I think 2 tight ends. But look who's in the midst of these receiving stats with all the wideouts. The guy who ran for 140 yards for the 49ers and flipped into the end zone the other day, Christian McCaffrey. In fact, he's not only on this, you could see this is yards per route run. This is a good measurement of receiving efficiency. But he's not only on this, look at where Christian McCaffrey is in terms of slot yards per route run. I'm outlining it with my cursor. I'm zooming in. This is it right here. I'm circling it. He's at 3.5 yards per route run when lined up in the slot. Is anybody out of these wideouts higher than Christian McCaffrey in this statistic? Nope. Doesn't matter if it's Jackson Smith-Njigba. Doesn't matter if it's Jamar Chase. Doesn't matter if it's Puka Nacua. Doesn't matter if it's Tedero McMillan. Nobody has more yards per route run against slot coverage or at a slot alignment and also against slot coverage than Christian McCaffrey. So when Kyle Shanahan says, yeah, this guy could be a running back, or if he needed to, he could also be a slot receiver. Kyle said the other day, I don't know if he'd be the best in the game like he is at running back, but it's possible. Yeah, it's possible. He's got the most yards per route run out of any slot. He's also leading the league in yards per route run against off coverage here at 5.58, way ahead of everybody else, which just goes to show you that if Ricky Pearsall comes back and blows the top off of defenses, there's going to be a lot more off coverage to try to prevent that from happening, which means more of a feast for Brock Purdy throwing underneath to Christian McCaffrey, who is one of the most special players of all time. McCaffrey is indeed projected to be 1,000, which would be the second time in his career that he does achieve that feat. I think that's the only graphic I have, or I've played like 4 of them. Those are the 4 graphics I have for now. But we'll go back to questions. Maybe Mike has something more for me. Need more of this cold water. I've already done 2 workouts. We're going to go for 3 today. We're trying to get the body right for Texans week. Anyway, speaking of the Texans, I promised that there would be a little bit more of a preview. Will Anderson Jr. is a complete stud coming off the edge. I like Danielle Hunter as well. He's a veteran. Those guys are a handful. The good news for the 49ers is that they blocked well tackle. There might be a loss or 2 a game for Colton McKivitz, but there's a loss or 2 a game for essentially every tackle. Trent Williams might spoil people because he can go a game without a loss, but it's very, very rare for a tackle to not see a bad rep. 49ers have above average tackle play on the aggregate. It is the middle of the line that concerns me the most for San Francisco. And we'll see if Houston can expose that. Sheldon Rankins, Tim Settle, a couple of veterans are their defensive tackles. They've got Azeez Al-Shire and EJ Speed at the linebacker position. Of course, we know all about Azeez. He's been an important part of this Houston defense. And then the secondary is what I really like in Houston. Derek Stingley Jr. had an interception last night. I will say that he's been getting picked on more than in any other point of his NFL career, over 400 yards allowed into Stingley's coverage this year. I don't know if technique-wise he's doing everything different or schematically Houston is leaving him a little bit more exposed, but that is worth noting entering this game. MJ Stewart coming over from Cleveland at one of the safety positions. Kalen Bullock at the other one, skinny guy. Kamari Lassiter is one of the corners for this team, and then Jalen Petrie plays nickelback for the Houston Texans. It is a good defense, rush and coverage. They unite it well. When you unite the rush and coverage effectively, you can look like this defensively. You can move yourself to the very, very top of the XY chart. More questions. I'm here for you. Ryan says, no doubt having Kittle's big for the run game, but Saquon Barkley got 2,000 yards without having a tight end that is good at. What are you talking about? He has Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert is a good tight end for Philadelphia. Also, Philly has an extremely good offensive line. Like the year that Saquon got 2,000 yards rushing was the year where Philly had the best offensive line in all of football. Also, Philly had deep threats. They had A.J. Brown. They had Devontae Smith. I mean, they were a loaded team. I think what the 49ers did the other day with Kittle back, I mean, they averaged 7.1 yards per carry on power. I mean, I don't know what else you want. I think that the 49ers are absolutely crushing it when it comes to the run game based on what we saw with George Kittle back on Sunday. Paul asks, how about Isaac Guerendo? Shout out to Noah,
Hopefully Noah sees this. I was doing some pull-ups on the Marina Green. Margot was with me. We're just chilling out, working out on the Marina Green here in San Francisco today. And a guy named Noah, who's a viewer, walked by and he was like, "Oh, hey, David," and introduced himself. And he asked me about Isaac Garendo. So now Paul is like Noah asking about Isaac Garendo. So shout out to Noah. Cool for him to say hi today in person. Hopefully he sees this. But the Garendo thing, it's weird because the 49ers have had injuries at essentially every single position group except for one, running back. And I don't think that anybody could have forecast this, but if you go and you look at San Francisco's roster, there's pink shading literally everywhere. At every single room, there is nothing right now at linebacker, but that's because Fred Warner's already on injured reserve. But there's not any pink shading at running back. All these guys are healthy. So if McCaffrey and Brian Robinson are both ready to go, why would you see Garendo? Now, at some point, we probably will see Garendo, and it's too bad the guys get hurt, but that happens in this sport. And that's the moment the Garendo is waiting in the wings for. I mean, the reason that he wasn't the running back too, ball security concerns, I think, are at the top of the list. Brian Robinson Jr. is a more established back. 49ers wanted a higher floor at that spot, but McCaffrey and Robinson have stayed healthy so far. And that's a big, big deal when it comes to allotting playing time for Isaac Garendo. You say Goddard is good, but no Kittle. Yeah, but you said that the Eagles don't have any good tight ends. Kittle's a future Hall of Famer. Kittle's one of the best to ever do it. My point, you asked why Philly is so good at running the ball, even though they don't have Kittle. Well, it's because they've got a solid tight end, and they've got, especially last year, had an absolutely amazing offensive line. And then Saquon is Saquon, and he did his thing. Did his thing the year after Christian did his thing for the 49ers, or 1 year after that was in 2023. So everything lined up a little bit better for Saquon Barkley last year. Everything lined up better for Christian McCaffrey the year before that. Gabriel asked, if the 49ers pick up Bradley Chubb, do you think they'll keep him the next year? Well, Bradley Chubb's under contract through 2027. And the 49ers would prefer to trade for somebody who can help them beyond 2025. It's just common sense. So if I'm sure they're considering every edge rusher. We'll have to see what the prices are. That's going to come from the Miami Dolphins, but I guarantee you the 49ers are considering any help that might come their way. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Ephraim, is that how I pronounce it? Thank you. Esley asks, I know it's a long shot, but what about Max Crosby? The Raiders have shown that they don't want to trade with the 49ers. Breaking news if that changes, but I think at this point, there hadn't been evidence to suggest that it has changed. It's an interesting question, but Mark Davis has not wanted to deal with the 49ers. Want to thank the sponsor of this show, Bubs. Aging sucks, but it doesn't have to. That's where Bubs Naturals collagen peptides come in. Starting in your mid-20s, your body naturally produces less collagen every single year. And collagen is the protein that holds everything together. It's literally the glue of the body. With Bubs, you can help restore collagen levels closer to what your body naturally had in its youth. That means stronger joints, healthier hair and nails, smoother skin, and faster recovery. Live better longer. For a limited time only, our listeners are getting 20% off of Bubs Naturals by using the code Lombardi at checkout. Just head to bubsnaturals.com. That's bubsnaturals.com and use the code Lombardi and you're all set. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that our show sent you. Bubs, thank you to them for sponsoring the show. Ooh, opening night of the NBA is tonight. That snuck up on me. Mike just let me know. Warriors, Lakers tonight at 7. I'm excited about that. I think Margot and I are going to go to Hayes Valley, get some dinner. Maybe we can watch the start of the game. Yeah, there's a little bit of a sports bar in Hayes Valley now, isn't there? Well, there used to be. It used to be Dobbs Ferry, but I think the place has TVs. Whatever used to be Dobbs Ferry. Yeah, maybe we'll watch a little bit of the Warriors Lakers to open this season. So yeah, it is October 21st. That is when NBA season does start. That did sneak up on me. I want to go. If anybody has Warriors tickets, I don't know. I think it's probably in LA tonight. I think they started at home last year. Let me see. I'm looking. Yeah, it's in LA tonight. Luka Doncic going for the Lakers. If anybody wants to invite me to a Warriors game, I'll buy the alcohol, I'll buy the drinks. But I would love to go. My email's on my Twitter. Just send it to me. I want to go see Steph Curry this year at some point. And I would just really, really want to soak in, when greatness is in front of you, you want to cherish it. You want to relish in it, and this is going to be over before we know it. I remember watching Barry Bonds 20 years ago now, and that ended. And, we haven't seen anything like it since. Even with all the awesome stuff that Ohtani is doing, and obviously as a pitcher and a hitter, that's unprecedented. What Bonds did as a hitter, I don't think will ever be seen again. The numbers that he put up, the amount of times they walked him, and they were walking him intentionally over 100 times a year. Like, it was absolutely wild. Well, Steph Curry is doing stuff and revolutionizing the game in a completely foreign way as well. And I think that it's something that I definitely want to cherish as it continues to unfold in front of us before it is over. Mike also wants to go. If you want to host Lombardi Productions at the Warriors game this year, we'll give you a shout out on the show. How about that? I'm all for it. My email, by the way, if you guys want to send some, we have new little business mail emails. It's let me make sure I have it right. I want to make sure you get it's David at lombardihimself.com. That's like our business email. So, hey, if you want to invite me to a Warriors game, I would appreciate it. David at lombardihimself.com. Can't believe I'm sitting here soliciting tickets on YouTube, but I'm ready to answer some more questions. I think that you would want to go too. If we got tickets, then yeah. Jacob Cowing update. I've seen him running off on the side. He's on injured reserve for the 49ers. I don't know how close he is to return, though. I can check this week for you. Why don't they run plays with CMC and Robinson with one in the backfield and one in the slot? Maybe they could do that, but they've got other eligibles that are also very capable, who they might think are more capable than Brian Robinson. So you want to get your 5 best eligibles out there. That's always the goal. And especially with George Kittle back, I think it becomes harder to squeeze another one of those guys in there. When are we going to see Purdy again? I think that the 49ers had Purdy ready to go for this week, and we'll see how tomorrow goes. We'll see what Kyle Shanahan says. My read on it is that it could be a 90% this week, but if you win, the 49ers won last week. With that win, if you keep on winning, so they're 5-2, there's no reason to rush him out there if it's only 90% and not like 98 or 99% against an AFC South team. I don't think they would have done it against Jacksonville a few weeks ago had Mac Jones been healthier, but he wasn't. You want to make sure that toe is healthy. This is the goal with Brock Purdy for the 49ers right now, is to return him and not have to yank him again, not have to replace him because there's another aggravation to the toe injury. So there are two things at play. There's, get him back as quickly as possible so you can help the team and get this offense to the elite level as quickly as possible. But that is only one of the functions that you're looking for here. The second one is get him in there so you don't have to take him back out if there's an aggravation, like minimize the chances of that. And maybe sitting him another week gets the 49ers to a place where he's not 90%, but he's 97 or 98%. And then they feel much more comfortable doing that against the New York Giants. I think if they would have lost this past game to the Atlanta Falcons, the 49ers don't have that luxury. 90% Brock Purdy, head out there. This is the number one defense in football. We need as much as possible from you. But the fact that they won and reestablished the run game, and that's huge for both Purdy and Mac Jones. So I think it might give the 49ers another week. I think, again, it's a very day-by-day thing. I think Purdy, if they needed him to, would be able to trot out there and play a game today, just like he was against Jacksonville. Would he be in better overall health than he was against Jacksonville? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. We don't know the exact status. But if you have the luxury, you might as well take advantage of it if you're the 49ers. Where's Pearsall at right now? We're going to find out more tomorrow on Ricky Pearsall, but I think that Ricky will play this week. I think it's trending in that way. I was talking to him last week. He was already feeling a lot better. Ricky's been in good spirits, and he slammed his knee on what should have been a catch against Jacksonville. And, once Ricky is back, then you have the ability to take the top off the defense again. Combine that with Kittle's return, 49, you could really start to say this is a loaded offense for San Francisco. And then, hey, maybe, just maybe, Brandon Ayuk at some point. All right, I want everybody to check out the San Francisco Standard. I know there's like 1,000 of you in the room right now, so you shouldn't leave without going here and seeing our 49ers grades from the game the other day. This is the most in-depth 49ers coverage there is. Got grades and pictures for all these position groups. There's Kendrick Bourne. We've got pressure counts. We've got the Michael Penix breakdown, kept clean versus when he was under pressure. We've got a Chase Lucas interview. You can see it playing right there. That this was me talking to Chase Lucas in the 49ers locker room. Everything you could possibly want is up on the San Francisco Standard. And the best way you can support this show is to hit the subscribe button, become a member, do all that. But then go check out the San Francisco Standard. It is the best written 49ers coverage there is. And it's more than just what we talk about on the show. We really start to break stuff down graphically. And I think you could get a lot of 49ers intel. Best of all, though, you just support what I'm doing here. And you could log on to YouTube for free every single day. And I'm sure you could learn a lot. But I like to expand this and give you as much as possible. Give you some burrito recommendations, sandwich recommendations while we're at it. And I appreciate all of you. So if you want to check out the San Francisco Standard, go ahead and do that right now. Everybody, thanks for watching. It's been fun. We will talk to you very soon. We'll talk to you next time. Enjoy opening night of the NBA season.